So I have three subjects I would like to speak about this week. The first thing is, what was the reason that Hashem commanded Moshe and Aaron to say to Paro to let Bnei Yisrael go 3 days in the desert to serve Hashem, alluding to the idea that they were going to return after 3 days and cause to basically lying to, it would seem like it's a lying to Paro. Not that the question is not, are you allowed to lie to a bad person? That's not the question over here. The question is, why did Hashem need to do that? The second thing I would like to speak about is the reason that Hashem took Bnei Yisrael through the desert instead of taking them and leading them through the land of Phleishim that was connected to Egypt. Egypt and Eretz Yisrael and the land of Canaan were connected, basically, just the land of Phleishim in between, which is also really part of Eretz Yisrael. So why didn't Hashem take them through the land of Phleishim? The third thing I'd like to speak about is all the nisim and miracles that Hashem did to Bnei Yisrael from coming out of Egypt, the splitting of the sea and all of that, until right after the splitting of the sea, the Amud Anan, the pillar of fire and pillar of cloud that went in front of them day and night, and all the miracles that Hashem did to them, and how He saved them from Egypt and drowned the Egyptians and all of that. And then right afterwards, Bnei Yisrael complained. So I'd like to explain that, what's going on over here. Bnei Yisrael complained right after. They complained about water, and then they complained about food. So what is going on over here? And they wanted meat and all of that. But anyhow, if you enjoy these videos, please like and subscribe and help us grow the channel. So let's get started. So what was the reason, basically, that Hashem told Moshe and Aaron to lie to Paro and say they were just going to serve Hashem for 3 days in the desert? So I had originally two answers. Now I have another answer. So I'd like to share them all with you. So the first thing I would think is to show Hashem's strength and power in Egypt. Hashem, for whatever reason it is, decided to harden Paro's heart. We explained earlier on the reasons perhaps behind Hashem hardening Paro's heart, but now that He's already utilizing these reasons mentioned before, so Hashem's going to make use out of it and show His greatness through it. So by just saying that we want to leave completely and become free of slavery and serve Hashem, that would make it harder, even naturally, for Paro to let go. But this Hashem made all the reasons possible for Paro to say, "Oh, let's send Bnei Yisrael," and to show that even so, when he hardens his heart, he's not going to be able to do anything about it. So Hashem said, "No, it's just." Hashem told Moshe and Aaron to say, "We're just going 3 days in the desert to serve Hashem. Afterwards, we're coming back." So, and even so, Paro was not able to sin, to show you the strength of Hashem, that you these outward miracles and everything, everyone goes crazy and wow, so inspired by these outward miracles, like all the 10 plagues, the Kriyas Yamsuf and all of that. But no, the inner miracles sometimes are much stronger and much greater. And Hashem showed His dominion in every area, on the water, land, whatever it was, in physicality. Now He's showing it in a deeper way in the hearts of human beings. Of course, He's not going to do that normally, but in this situation, for the reasons we mentioned before, the Paro was not worthy of repenting or whatever it was. So, and therefore Hashem used him to demonstrate His power and His strength in the human being also, even though he doesn't like doing that. And we'll see that later on. The next situation, it's exactly the opposite, where he doesn't want to do the exact same thing for Bnei Yisrael. But anyhow, so that was the first reason, and that's why Hashem hardened Paro's heart. He himself is looking at him, why am I doing this? Why am I not sending them? I mean, it's only 3 days. They're only going for 3 days. So that shows the strength of Hashem in the eyes of everyone. So the second reason that I understood that Hashem told Moshe and Aaron to tell Paro that they were going 3 days in the desert is because that was, in a certain aspect, that was the truth. Now, in the Torah it says, when Hashem appeared to Moshe in the burning bush, and then Hashem spoke to him, and He told him and He wanted to send Moshe to go and save Bnei Yisrael. The Torah says, Vayomer. So Moshe said, who am I that I should go to Paro and I should take Bnei Yisrael out of Egypt? So Hashem answers and says, Ki imach, I will be with you. And this is the sign that I sent you when I take when you take this nation out of Egypt, you'll serve Hashem on this mountain. The Ramban explains, what does it mean? This is a sign that I sent you, that when you go out, you'll serve Hashem on this mountain. The Rambam has a very interesting explanation. I'm not going to go into it right now, but the Ramban explains that this is a sign over here, means like something to look forward to or to look at, and this will be the not the purpose, even though it's also the purpose, but it will be like the direction. And because Moshe was worried that Bnei Yisrael would say, "Oh, we don't want to go with you into the desert. We're going into the desert. We don't know what's happening. Then you're going to take us into Eretz Yisrael, and take us to the land of the Canaanim, and we're going to fight against all these 7 nations. We're having a good time in Egypt. It's tough. It's very tough, but still, everything's provided for us. Over there, we have the fear of death upon us." So Hashem told Moshe that what you're going to tell them, we're going to go out of Egypt for 3 days in the desert, and we're going to serve Hashem. Well, I mean, to Bnei Yisrael, the point wasn't 3 days, but the point was we're going to serve Hashem on this mountain. Even they will agree to do that, to be out of slavery, if not to go into the land of the Canaanim. So now this was, and how could Hashem, now the question is Hashem saying a lie? No, Hashem is not saying a lie over here. That was the truth, because at the end of the day, that was the purpose of taking them out. I mentioned before, the whole purpose of the whole reason, the whole way to get out of slavery is by having something greater to attach yourself to, and that's Hashem. They had to go into the service of Hashem, and that was the point Hashem was taking them out, to become a nation to Hashem. Then afterwards, of course, they'll listen to Moshe and go after him and go to Eretz Yisrael and all of that. So also in a certain way, this was truth also for Paro. That was the truth, that Bnei Yisrael were going to serve Hashem on the mountain, because before that they weren't going to be worthy of going out of Egypt to go to Eretz Yisrael. Only afterwards they're worthy of going to Eretz Yisrael. So in a certain aspect it was true, even though it was the ultimate plan to bring them out totally. Okay, so that was my original answers. Now I have another understanding based on which I understand now from Parshas Beshalach. So the Torah says that when Paro, Hashem told Moshe to take Bnei Yisrael, and they're on the edge of the desert. Hashem told Moshe to take Bnei Yisrael back towards the sea, and basically Hashem caused them to get trapped between Egypt and the sea. And basically Paro saw. So Hashem says, "V'chitzati slave Paro, I'll harden the heart of Paro, and he will run after them, and I'll become honored through Paro, his warriors, and Mitzrayim will know that I am Hashem." And then right after it says, "Vayigadla melech Mitzrayim," it was told to the king of Egypt, "Ki varach," that the nation ran away. So what does that mean? It means the same thing as what Hashem told Moshe right before. And Paro will say they don't know what they're lost in the land. The desert has closed upon them. Meaning, Paro will see that they're not going to a certain place. They're not going to serve Hashem in the mount and in the Har Sinai. He'll see, why are they going around the desert like this? They are trying to run away, and because they don't know where to go, now they're lost in the desert. So 2 factors: they're trying to run away. That's one that triggered in his mind, and they're lost. So that's a situation that we could get in and actually, make it more difficult, because they're lost and they're running away. So the cause for them to, get angry was they're trying to run away. But now the reason that it's worth it maybe is because they're going to get lost. What do you see? That already from the beginning Hashem had it all planned. He hardened Paro's heart, and he told Moshe to tell Paro that they're only going 3 days in the desert. So Paro at the end, even when it came to such a craziness after everything that happened, that he would come to chase Bnei Yisrael, because he saw that they actually ran away. So that basically was Hashem's idea. He would see that they ran away when he thought they're only going 3 days, and that would trigger him to chase after them. We see another thing from this, and I'll mention that later after the next explanation of my second thing I would like to speak about. So now let's go on to the second thing I would like to speak about, and that is, what is the reason that Hashem took Bnei Yisrael through the desert instead of taking them straight to Eretz Yisrael? So the Torah actually addresses this question. The Torah says, when Paro sent the nation, Bnei Beshalach Paro Yisa'am v'lo nacham Elohim et derech Eretz Plishtim ki karev, Hashem did not lead them through the land of Plishtim. Ki karev hu ki amar Elohim peni nachem ha'am b'yosam milchama v'shava mitzrayim. Now there's an argument on what this means. I'm going to go based on the Ramban, but I'm first going to say what Rashi says. So Rashi says, Ki karayv hu, because it's close, meaning that's the reason that Hashem didn't want to send them through there, because it's close, and because it's close, they might come back. When Ki Amar Elokim, because Hashem said, perhaps the nation will change their mind when they see war, and they'll return to Egypt because it's close. But if it's far, then they won't return. They won't return to Egypt. Now the Ramban, and I think this is the more simple pshat, says Ki karayv doesn't mean because. It means even though it's close. The opposite of because, even though it's close, meaning even a closeness would be a reason to bring them to Eretz Yisrael, but even though it's close, no, even though it's close, Hashem didn't take them there. Why didn't Hashem take them through there? Because Hashem said perhaps the nation will return when they see war. Now, but according to the Ramban, there's a good question. So what, when they go through the long path and afterwards they go to the land of Canaan and they start fighting war, are they not going to fear war? So the answer over here is, and there's another question. Why can Hashem just go into their hearts and make them not be fearful? And then they'll go in and they'll have no fear. So I'll give you the answer, and it's really one answer. What I'm going to say right now is going to answer both of the questions. So the answer is Hashem does not want to take away free will, doesn't want to doesn't want someone to lose the ability to choose. And the fear that they had, it had to be taken care of from within. They were the ones who had to fix it, and Hashem will only help. And we're going to see, is going to help actually a lot. But Hashem is not going to go into our hearts. He didn't go into Bnei Yisrael's hearts to change to make them free, to make them not fear, because that would basically be taking away their free will. So instead, Hashem took them through the desert, where they slowly got close to Hashem, and they got used to, they saw the nisim of Hashem, the sea split before them, the pillar of fire, and pillar of cloud went in front of them day and night, and the sea split before them. They walked in through, and the Egyptians drowned. All these nisim. Afterwards, the water that came off the rock, the man, and all these other nisim that happened in the desert. There's all the presence of Hashem, a constant presence was always there, and they learned to trust Hashem. That by the time they came into Eretz Yisrael, they trusted Hashem and they had no fear anymore. So it had to come from within. Of course, as we see, with Hashem's help, but it took time. It had to come. They were the ones that had to do the action of removing the fear. So that's basically, that's the lesson itself that we learn from here, that Hashem doesn't want to remove our free will in any way, and therefore we have a lot of work that we have to do ourselves. Hashem doesn't do for us everything. Hashem will help us, especially if we deserve it. He's going to help us, but He's not going to do the work for us. We're going to have to do the work ourselves. Okay, so now the third thing was after Bnei Yisrael crossed the Yam Suf, and after all, basically they crossed. Hashem split the sea, and they walked in dry land, and the Egyptians drowned afterwards. The sea covered the Egyptians up, and all of that. So they walked 3 days in the desert. They didn't find water, and they complained to Moshe and Aaron, so that's what. And then right afterwards, the Torah speaks about them complaining about, we don't have bread, and we don't have meat. So what does it say in the parsha? It says, Vayilanu kol adas b'nei Yisrael al Moshe v'al Aaron b'midbar. All the congregation of Bnei Yisrael complained to Moshe and Aaron in the desert. Vayamru eleihem b'nei Yisrael. Bnei Yisrael said to Moshe and Aaron, Mi yitein musenu b'yad Adonai. Who's going to give our death in the hands of Hashem? Be'eret Mitzrayim, in the land of Egypt. B'shivteinu al sir habasar. When we were sitting on the pot of meat, when we were eating bread for satisfaction, that you took us out into this desert to cause us all this congregation to die in the famine. In other words, they're complaining to Moshe and Aaron. They're saying that we'd rather die while we were full than die when we were starving. So the question is, after all these miracles they saw the presence of Hashem so clearly, and they're still complaining, and they don't know Hashem's going to provide them. So I saw once a small video of Tucker Carlson speaking to someone who used to be in yeshiva, but he basically, I think he maybe converted to Christianity or something like that. And he was saying that, a lot of people, and he felt that maybe in himself also, that he doesn't really feel so much that he'll sometimes do something, like he'll do a transgression or something like that. He won't feel too bad about it. He doesn't feel so real. If he would have felt real that he believed in Hashem, trusted in Hashem, or believed in what he was doing in the commandments, like he wasn't trying to say that he didn't trust in Hashem, he was trying to say that he didn't believe in the Jewish version. But if he didn't, but if he really believed in that it was true what he was doing, how would he be able to transgress? How would he be able to go over it? And in truth, and deep, deep truth, there is something to that. But I thought about it a lot, and it's not really so. Because think of someone who has, who basically has a risk of diabetes or something like that, or even just someone normal, and they eat a lot of unhealthy foods and all of that. So now, what do you tell? Is it true that he doesn't believe that there's a big chance he's going to get diabetes, or maybe for sure, the doctor told him 100% he's going to get diabetes by the way he's eating? So why does he eat? The answer is the presence, what's right now in front of him looks much more real than the true future. Even though it's true, it looks much more real than the future. And it's like you see an image far away, it's blurry, and the image in front of you is clear. Not that you don't know what that image says in it, or what the picture of that image is, but it's much more, what's close to you feels much more real at the time. And so it's not a proof just because you don't feel something so clearly that you don't believe in it. It's because there's something else that feels to you more real, even though it might be more false in truth, but it feels to more real at the present, which is causing you to not to like turn towards it more than the other thing. And therefore you have to make Hashem in your life like always present as much as possible, so you won't feel like that. Now, Bnei Yisrael were also like that, especially over here, that they were hungry and all of that feel much more real to them than the miracles and nisim. So you say, but it's such great nisim and miracles that that should be more real to them. The thing is, I would say they might have got used to it. And also we have to understand the mentality in those days. Another thing I think is really important is that look at the world around you and really think about it in truth. You see how great it is, the presence of Hashem everywhere, life everywhere. It's so amazing, but we get so used to it that it's not we don't realize it so much. Why do you think we are so different than them? They saw greater nisim. How do you know what you're seeing right now is not amazing? It's not great nisim. So you don't see Hashem, you can't see Hashem. So that's what. So maybe we could differentiate between the great nisim and all that. But I'm saying we don't realize the greatness that we're in. I'm not saying in our time. I'm not saying that our time is great or not. I would say it is, but that's not my point. We don't realize the time that we are in and the greatness of the time. And they might have not realized also, because they got down to the things that were actually happening right there. They're hungry and all of that. And the hunger was much more real to them. And another thing you see over here is their mentality of slavery. They're used to the Egyptians feeding them, and they're used to the Egyptians taking care of them and all that, even though it's in a terrible way. And the Egyptians were, were afflicting them and causing pain and everything like that. It was terrible, but they were taking care of them. And they were used to not being their own masters. And now they had to be their own masters in a certain sense. And they had to learn responsibility. And that was very hard for them. So therefore they complained. And that's another thing we see from here. And of course, we see the difference between the old generation and the new generation. The generation that came out of Egypt, it was very, very hard for them to uproot. And this goes back to the second thing I was speaking about. It was very hard for them to uproot the mentality of slavery and all of that. It was very hard for them. And even though they're in the desert a long time, it took them a long time to uproot it. You can't really, it's very hard to change mentalities. It has to come from yourself. It has to come completely from yourself. And if you really want to, and you know the ways, you could change from one side to the other direction completely, but it has to come from yourself. It's really hard. From the outside, it's very hard. You see, everything that Hashem did didn't change it, because Hashem wasn't willing to change their hearts. Everything Hashem did didn't change them so much. But their children, it changed. And they were used to they were used to 40 years in Hashem's presence all the time. That made their children weren't scared to go into Eretz Yisrael. But you see the difference in mentality also over there. That's about all I had. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I recorded this video earlier this morning, but unfortunately while I was editing it, it deleted. So I hope this one's better. I think it's better. And yeah, please subscribe, please like and share and help me grow this channel. Comment also, tell me what you have to say. Thank you very much. Have a good day.